This is Craig Shaw, owner of Adios, Columbia 43, and he's going to show us the deck and layout.
Here's the cockpit, obviously the helm here, and kind of a fun deal is we actually have a small teak ship's wheel that we pull this one off, tie it to this string on the overhead so it's up out of the way for cruising, and then we have this cute little teak wheel that we can get around easier. So that's an anchor. So if there was an emergency and we need to steer, we've got the small teak one, but we don't have to keep trying to get around the big wheel, which is wonderful offshore to sit on the rail, beating the weather. You can see around everything. It's comfortable. And also it's an upgrade. It's got a bigger gear on it for faster steering. Down here we've got the big 4-inch rudder shaft that I changed from the small 3-inch that we had bent a couple of times. Once was on a jibe broach at about 14 knots with a spinnaker up on the bridge-to-bridge race from Astoria to Newport, Oregon. We bent it over about 4 inches. And another time we bent it hitting a log off Willapa Bay on a trip up the coast. So the 4-inch is way stronger, and Harkin ball bearings. So anyway, that's the steering. Back here we've got the dinghy that, instead of having regular dinghy davits, I use the radar mast as and a lifting boom to lift it away and up in the air away from the reverse transom. And then I use 4-inch webbing straps, heavy lifting straps, underneath it with a Kevlar line that goes up to the top of the mast, back down to a yoke, and then back down to the winch shear. And so the lifting boom is only to lift it to get it out of the water, then the straps and the Kevlar line and the heavy-duty block at the top of the mast actually carry the weight. And I've sailed all the way down to San Diego, Zihuatanejo, and back up the coast with the dinghy there and not had any problems. Backstay, Bimini, Dodger. Nice big cockpit, which we had cockpit cushions made, and I even made 1x12s to fill in this so that we can have a queen-size airbed to make the whole cockpit into an extra outdoor sleeping area, which is wonderful. I also have variant winch chairs, which are put away, but they sit in either of the winches, and it's my favorite to have them on these winches for any on the river or offshore cruising. And then I use the autopilot AutoHelm 6000, and the controls are right here, or I also have a wire remote for the AutoHelm too. But to sit on the variant winch chairs on these winches, you have such a great view of everything. It works really nice. Right now the side curtains and the windshield are out of the Dodger, but and then when I had the Dodger windshield replaced, which was 2 panels, I made it 3, and then I had the center panel with the unizipper, so it totally opens up and makes it super nice for ventilating the cockpit. I put a nice Harkin Traveler on there, and I actually have a larger car that I've got up at my shop that I'm going to install there yet. And then obviously we got another depth sounder chart plotter here, small one. We have a swing out, and I guess I should show that right now too. Swing out radar, and so we have the chart plotter and the radar, 16-mile Furuno radar, Ray Marine chart plotter, and chips for down to Mexico and back. And I like the swing out bracket, you know, it's kind of the best of both worlds. Real happy with that. No real issue with it. And then I can swing it out of the way. And I think that's about it. We can go forward. Okay. Oh, I should point out here that I have 2 roller furling head sails. The little self-tacking head sail is on this furler here. So that leads through a ratchet block to this cam cleat. Just a little 80% self-tacker. Sometimes I'll put the 130 on it for racing, and but it's always on the roller furler. The big, I put a 2-foot bowsprit, and I have a 200% reaching head sail that's on that, 4-ounce Dacron. That's brand new. and that's on the port side furler line. And sometimes I'll put the big asymmetrical 1.5 ounce spinnaker on that Harken furler, and I use that for top-down furler, which we've done Banderas Bay Regatta, the Baja Haha, and just some around the buoys racing with it. It works pretty good. There's some issues with top-down furling, but it's a good way for cruisers to be able to race around a course and not have to have foredeck crew. In fact, I should have pointed out that this is the sheet for the self-tacker. So obviously with a self-tacker, like a main sheet, you only need one sheet. So that makes that real nice. Come forward, we got a brand new main. It's hardly been sailed. We got the hard bag. Here I was pointing out, here's my new, we've got the big head sail on this one. The big 200% reacher, and I like wire reel winches. Being a rigger, you know, they're not idiot proof, but all you have to do is not ever let the brake off while you got a winch handle in it. And it's got a nice step on it, so for climbing up to do the sail cover, I love the step. Wire reel winch was always there for the mainsail. That's 3/16 inch diameter. Both of the head sails are 1/4 inch. And so I love those. This one here I actually have a self-tailer to match the one on the port side, and that's self-tailer is wonderful for lifting the dinghies. So this is, I have port and starboard spinnaker halyards. So here's the port spinnaker halyard. It's an old Lumar geared down self-tailing winch, and I have the same winch to replace this one. So that'll go over there shortly. Here's the cable traveler for the self-tacking head sail. I call it the poor man's traveler. Since I'm a rigger, it makes sense, and it actually works better than the car and track traveler on my dad's 54-foot Hunter. Works way smoother. And I actually built this block in my shop. I patterned this off of another block. I'd like to replace the cheeks with stainless. I use a Schaefer strap here, so some people think that it's a Schaefer block, but and this micarta shiv came from Adios's old masthead, and it works really nice because it's micarta and it doesn't scratch up the deck like an aluminum shiv would. And then I used big heavy-duty blocks all the way around, and it's kind of tied off funny right now, and that was so because we've had the hammock stretched across here.
Oh, okay.
So when we stretch the hammock across here, it ties on to here, and I didn't want this sheet for the self-tacking head sail. I didn't want that in the way, so it kind of gets tied off. And then here's the bowsprit that I installed with whisker stays and even a little bob stay. And it's a 2-foot stainless steel bowsprit with a Harken unit too on it. And it was all my own design, and it's worked flawlessly for probably 15 years. Been very happy with that. I love big old Harken furlers. I'd always thought about maybe making a bow pulpit that would go and capture that one as well, but this works fine.
Yeah.
Installed a anchor windlass. I used to have a horizontal instead of the vertical, but it was an aluminum, and I found this for a good deal, and in Maxwell, and installed that. And a lot of the reason for it was I had a 12-foot Whitehall sailing dinghy, so I moved everything further forward for the 12-foot sailing dinghy, and then I finally settled on a 10-foot sailing dinghy. And this one's kind of lighter weight, it's a little beamier, it's a little safer for 2 people. I didn't want to put a centerboard trunk in it, so I put lee boards and put a laser rudder on it, kick-up rudder. It's got a 2-piece carbon fiber windsurfing mast and a windsurfing sail as well, and it sails beautifully. And without having a centerboard trunk, Carolyn my girlfriend, can sit up in the front, totally comfortable, and I can sit in the back. And if it would have had a centerboard trunk, that would have been in the way for her. So. And centerboard trunks always leak, so
yeah,
lee boards work good there. And got the spinnaker pole stored over here. I also have a lifting boom for the dinghy, and because I carry both the hard dinghy here and the RIB on the transom, and a lot of times when I'm at anchor, I'll carry one on each side. So the inflatable RIB I'll carry on the port side, and then the sailing dinghy, I'll lift it up with the lifting boom, and it'll be on the starboard side. That way they're always ready to go. And, it makes it really nice anchored out in La Paz to grab whichever dinghy I want.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.